Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to start by sharing something personal to me. This is going to be the first time when I'm going to present in front of such a big crowd. I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm also happy, because I'm going to talk about something that I'm really passionate about, the world of data. Need this. My name is Madalin Stan, and in the last decade, I have been working as a business intelligence consultant on numerous projects in different domains, such as financial, retail, and insurance. Since last year, I have become a technical manager at Deloitte Delivery Center. And today, I'm here to share with you some key insights and lessons learned from how we implemented data mesh architectures. As far as the agenda goes, today I'm going to show you the 4 data mesh principles, how they reflect in an architectural design, some challenges, some benefits on why when we implemented a data mesh architecture, and in the end, we will conclude with a small Q&A session. How many of you heard about data mesh before this presentation? Please raise your hands. How many of you are working on a project with data mesh? Excellent. So for the rest of you, let me give you some context. Data mesh has been introduced in 2019 by Zalmag Delgani, and due to the growing concerns around data. It drew the attention very fast in domains like tech and finance. But in order to understand the data mesh framework, we need to talk about the 4 principles. And the first principle that I would like to talk about is domain ownership. In data mesh, there are multiple domain teams, and each one of them is fully accountable for the knowledge, for the stewardship and responsibility of data. Domain teams are responsible for ingesting, for modeling, for transforming, enriching, and publishing the data. A lack of collaboration between these domain teams will result in duplicated data. Also, it's going to be hard to preserve referential integrity and ensure data consistency. The second principle that I would like to talk about is the data as a product. This concept shifts the perspective of data from being merely a resource to a product that serves specific needs. Through data products, domain teams are responsible to give other domain teams the high-quality data and also to provide support. The third principle that I want to share with you today is the SelfServe data platform. This platform empowers domain teams with the necessary tools in order to create these data shareable products. Its goal is to be easy to access and easy to use. The last principle is represented by the federated governance. Even if we have decentralized operations, we still need to have centralized standards. Governance is for data product sharing, for documentation, for privacy policies, and also for security. Now that we have went through the principles, I would like to show you how they reflect in an architectural design. I would like to make a special call out for all the data engineers and architects in the room, because the design architecture that I'm going to show you is used in real-life projects. The first component that I want to talk about is the SelfServe data platform. As I stated before, this platform empowers domain teams with the necessary tools and infrastructure they need to create these data products. In our projects, we are not limited by any technology or vendors, but for storage, for ingestion, for transformation, and even for orchestration, we are using cloud technologies. Another another component that should be in the self-serve data platform is the data cataloging tool, in order to help domain teams to find data products easily and understand where they can be used. Other tools that should be in the self-serve data platform are observability tools and maintenance. I want you to think that this platform is like the Hogwarts school from the Harry Potter universe, because it provides the environment for students to learn, perform magic. They have everything there. And keep in mind this. Now, if we move a little bit upper, we find the core architectural part of data mesh, the domain teams. Domain teams are responsible for the data inside their domains. That means that they are the producers and custodians of their data. Domain teams are responsible for ingestion, for modulation, for design, and publication of data. That means in the data mesh world, the publication of data means creating data products. And in a data mesh architecture, as you can see here, there are multiple domain teams that can produce multiple data products. An example of a data product can be a table, can be a data mart, or even an application. Real-life examples from retail can be a sales table, from merchandise, a product or promotions, or from finance can be the general ledger. Also, domain teams are responsible for providing support and maintenance, having in mind that they have to generate high-quality data for other end users or for other domains. Domain teams can be associated with the 4 houses of Hogwarts: the Hufflepuff, the Ravenclaw, the Slytherins, or the Gryffindors. And the data products are the unique spells that each house can produce. And the data itself is the thing that drives everything around, is the magic. But even these 4 houses need someone to see that everything runs smoothly. They need Dumbledore. They need the federated governance. And in this federated governance, there is someone that has a crucial role, and that is the governance team. Because they have to ensure that all the standards, they have to enforce these standards, and also interoperability, so that the data can flow across each domain can flow across each domain. Also, the governance team is responsible for the documentation and for data discoverability. They have to make sure that each data product has a well-written documentation, and also it's easy to access and use. Governance team also has to do another very important thing. They have to impose security and privacy rules. And this takes us to the last part of the data mesh architecture, which is the enabling team. This enabling team serves as a vital support structure, because they provide guidance through defining architectures, defining patterns, offer consultancy, and also defining best practices. Usually, members of this team can be dispatched to domain teams in order, this happens at the beginning of the projects, in order to help them create standardized data products. Also, this team is not here to last forever. Usually, when the project reaches maturity, these teams might be dispatched. And now I'd like to go to key reasons why to choose data mesh. In our projects, there are many demands, and I identified some recurring ones. Let's see how data mesh addresses them. The first one is, can you deliver faster? I think everyone in the room wants to deliver faster all the time. But let's see how data mesh addresses this. First, with having parallel work streams. Domain teams can work in parallel, simultaneously, without having to wait for data. This means, but even when they have to, they need data from another domain team, there are special regulations that and makes the process fast. Another part is represented by the cross-functional expertise. Each domain team needs to have knowledge from modeling, from data engineering, and also DevOps. Having an overall picture of how your project, how your domain works, speeds everything up. And the third thing here is represented by the enhanced autonomy that domain teams now have. And that's why they can respond faster to business needs and requirements. Another challenge, another demand that our clients ask is, how can we align our business with our technical ownership? Well, data mesh addresses this by having in each domain teams data source SMEs, subject matter experts, that are already there. You don't lose time training them. And they can translate from business knowledge to technical expertise. For your project, this means better test cases. Developers can understand better and faster the business requirements. And also, they spend less time doing bug fixes. Usually, this SME is a game changer. I think I can count on my fingers the projects where I had a dedicated resource that can explain me the business aspect. And I think I'm not the only one in the room. The third reason that I want to talk about here is the scalability. How data mesh addresses this? Domain teams now have autonomy even for ingesting the data. This means they are not disrupting any other domain teams when ingesting data. And the fourth aspect that I want to talk about here is the customized support and maintenance. Domain teams now have the flexibility to optimize their own systems. That means they can apply patches or enhancements or even security fixes. Our recommendation is to have embedded in each domain team support, a designated resource. But when this doesn't happen, we can put a data engineer in that role and change each other week. Now that I presented these numerous advantages, I would like to talk about some challenges as well. Cultural and organizational shift. I'm not going to lie, there might be some resistance because now teams have to adapt to new ways of working, to new responsibilities, and also new roles. For example, while requesting data products in one of our projects, team members wanted to use any other method than to use the data cataloging tool. That's why we had to enforce it by having monthly meetings where we discuss about best practices and how should the data be shared between domain teams. Also, there might be, because of this cross-functional expertise that has to be in each domain team, we might need to support and train members of the teams. And this might cause some challenges. The second challenge that I want to talk about here is the data interoperability across domains. If there is going to be a lack of collaboration between domains, there might be duplicated efforts, and that will end up with inconsistent outputs. Think about the Slytherin house that wanted to take all the decisions by themselves all the time, and did not play well with the others. This meant disruption, and the same happens in data mesh. And the last challenge that I want to talk about here is the data modeling complexity. Now domain teams are in charge of data modeling, but this means that we might end up it might be hard to understand an overall picture of our project. And also, if here the standards are not enforced across all domains, the data product effort of the effort of building data products will shift to the right in applications or in reports. If a bug will appear, and for sure it is going to appear, it's going to be hard to trace it back if domain teams are not the ones in charge of doing this data modeling complexity. That's why all the time we have to go to the enabling team, to their best practices in order to treat these data modeling complexities. While creating an architecture, we will have some costs. And data mesh makes no difference. The initial setup might be a significant investment because there will be more domain teams. That means more infrastructure. More members in the teams will have more licenses to buy. And also because of the data modeling complexity, we will end up with longer times to create everything. If domain teams are not collaborating with each other, we will end up with duplicated resources, overlapping data products. That in time will mean increased costs. And also, because now we have this cross-functional expertise in our teams, we either invest in training in our people, or we have to hire specialized one from outside. Another challenge that I want to talk about here is the data discoverability. Without standardized practices for cataloging data assets, domain team might create different classifications, terminologies, and documentation methods. This will create inconsistencies across all domains, and in the end, we cause data duplication. The last challenge that I want to talk about and share it with you is the security. Think about now you have a lot of domains and with a lot of data products, and they contain a lot of personally identifiable information. In the end, we might end up with hundreds, maybe thousands of different roles for each domain team to handle. And this might be, for sure, is very hard to maintain. The same goes for the data retention periods and deletion policies. Because if they are not enforced across all domains, it's going to be very hard later on to enforce them. That's why we suggest them to be enforced at the design phase. Here I took some main points that we should take into consideration when we implement a data mesh architecture. And I split them into 3 parts. First, you need to assess the organizational readiness and culture, because we need to understand if the organization is ready for this transition. Secondly, we need to focus on modeling and not on the technology. Technology can come in later in the picture, but we need to understand the complexity first. Also, we need to foster this environment of collaboration in our teams so that they can change the information between the different owners of data products. And also, what is very important, to define clear governance with universal standards that can be applied across all domains. After these steps are done, we can start build this cross-functional expertise over our teams. We can apply security controls, and also we need to facilitate data accessibility. If we don't do this, everything that I showed you will crumble. And also, we need to promote data literacy. We empower and educate domain teams to use data effectively and responsibly. And in the far future, we need to continuously monitor our data products, still foster this collaboration between domains, and the ultimate goal should be to have a data platform where anyone can come, understand what information have there, take it without disrupting other teams. In the end, I would like to make some strategic reflections on data mesh. On one side, there will be some challenges. Cultural organizations might resist to these new ways of working. The existence of multiple domains, the domain teams, might require a higher coordination, and this might lead to complexities and also additional costs. And also, all these domain teams will need a Dumbledore, right? To see that everything runs smoothly and everyone is doing their part and job. But on the other side, if everything is applied, we will deliver faster because we have this cross-functional expertise in our teams, we have these SMEs, and because of this, we will have enhanced data quality and trust in our data. The users will be happier than ever. And in the end, we'll have autonomous teams If there is one thing for you to remain after this presentation, and I will try to summarize it in one sentence, working in a decentralized way has a lot of benefits. Autonomy is great, but we need to enforce standards and best practices. Go to the Q&A session.
Thank you so much. Round of applause. First time speaking in front of an audience this size, but I'm sure it's not going to be the last. Yes. I enjoyed every Harry Potter reference, by the way. Any questions for Madalin? Yeah, we have someone there.
Hello. Nice presentation, and well done for the first time. I'll try to kind of squeeze two questions in one. You said that it's already in production or you're already using it, right? But how did you address, you said there on one of the slides, you have clear lineage and data ownership. How did you handle the situation when you have, I don't know, 2 or 3 examples where derived data is already produced and you already lose that lineage and data ownership? So I'm curious, how did you handle those guardrails around this situation? And the second part of the story was about decentralization, the SMEs. You said that the SMEs will be put inside or next to the domains to help them. But the moment you do that, in the very near future, you will fall still in the centralization pitfall, meaning that you will still need to create standards, you still need to do centralized work, so you're kind of removing part of that decentralization. How did you handle that?
Okay, thank you for your questions. So the first one, traceability. First of all, we need to use some tools in order to do that. And there are standards that we have to follow. Each team needs to have, usually we are using Colibra for data cataloging, where for observability and maintenance, New Relic and Grafana. So in order to trace it, usually members of the teams have to work only through these lines of, to use these tools. They should not use emails or whatever to move the data around each other. So it's very clear to have lineage there, because you have to introduce all the time if it's a new data product, if you need to access some data products from other domain teams, or even if you have if you should have access to that particular data product. And regarding your other question, having embedded SMEs in each domain teams, I don't think it's making them the monolith again, because there are different parts of the business. They are split entirely, and they are split entirely. They should not be again the same monolith from the beginning.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Any other questions? No? I have a question for you, because it's obvious that the challenges fall into two categories. There are the technical skills issues that might occur, and the soft skill issues, because a large part of representation was about company culture. Which one of these is easier to handle from your experience, obviously? And a follow-up on this would be, how long would it have to take implementing this data mesh into a company in order for it to be considered efficient? I mean, when's the time to give up if you see that you cannot overcome all these challenges?
Mm-hmm. Okay, the first question. From our experience in our projects, the biggest challenge is the cultural one, because it's hard for people to it's hard to come to people and just say, we are gonna do this from now on, you have to do that. We need to show support. We cannot enforce everything from start. Because I'm a data engineer myself, right? Technical skills, we all the time in our domain, we have to upskill all the time. That's why the cultural part, it's a little bit more challenging. And your second question, my answer is depends. Depends on the project, depends on the requirements, depends on what the client, the organization has, the budget, the costs. But if you would want a timeline, usually this project goes with a pilot project first in the first months to gain the trust of the organization. And then follow up, we implement other domains and we move everything in data mesh.
Thank you. Let's see, one more try with the audience. No one? Thank you so much, Madalin, Deloitte. Round of applause, everyone.